Hey, Nerf Herders, I'm Addy Thomas.
I'm Ben Milton.
Thanks for joining us for a bonus episode of Certain Point of View as we are going into The Last Jedi, and we've got two guests with us. Actually, we've got three. J-Mike is off mic, so we'll translate for you if he says something, because inevitably he's going to say
He's
something.
going to chime in about some sort of hate for Cyborg, love for Superman, and probably porgs.
Yeah. But the people that we actually have on mic are our very own Case Aiken.
Hey, guys.
And Shawn. It's good to see you. We haven't seen you on the D20 game for a little bit.
I know. I've been out of the game for too long.
Yeah.
Missed you, buddy. It's good to have
you
you back.
But you're still chugging along piloting for us.
Yeah.
And folding those towels.
Yeah.
Damn, those are some good towels.
Keeping everything's neat and clean and tidy.
And you can check out those adventures, of course, if you go to our website, certainpov.com. You can subscribe to the Scruffy Nerf Herders, our Star Wars D20 adventure. Again, that is on our website, certainpov.com. Let's get right into The Last Jedi. There's a lot going into this movie. You know, we can talk about theories. There's always. It feels like there's been a new theory every day about this trilogy.
Each one dumber than the last.
Right, like who are Rey's parents and
who's Snoke?
Yeah, who is Snoke are the ones that tend to dominate it. My thought for Snoke is it's just 17 porgs in a robe pretending to be somebody. That's my hope.
Like Miss Caroline's little boyfriend.
Right. Yes. So that's my hope, but I have a feeling that's probably not gonna work out so well. So
Probably not.
So,
but it's as good as a lot of the other ones that I've heard.
Yeah, it is. But all right, so I know for a fact that Ben, you and I are crazy excited about this. That we're not even able to wait an extra day to see this. That we're looking at going to see it twice within 2
you
days.
bastards. We agreed on a day. We bought tickets, and you're looking to see if you can like scalp a seat the night before.
I mean,
you didn't communicate that level of excitement to us.
Yeah. No, I think we know. I'm not going to go there.
You've been a little bit bitter about there's been mixed messages because of your feelings on The Force Awakens.
Okay, it's true. I don't think J.J. Abrams is that good a director, and I thought Force Awakens was at best as good as Star Wars Episode 3.
Ooh.
So, but
all right.
Contrary to some people in the room, I really liked Rogue One.
Yeah, that's true.
And the franchise as a whole, I really like.
Yeah, that's very true.
Let's get I'll say what I get excited about is the event of going out to see a movie with people really appreciate and love the movie. You guys are really passionate, and just going out, whether it's going to see Deadpool or one of the Marvel movies. I'm more excited just for the social aspect of going out.
So we're like your children. You're experiencing it through our eyes.
Pretty much, yeah. So I will say, with the Force Awakens, I pretty much I've grown a lot since last year, where I try to be less bitter about things. And
it's true. We had a very long conversation right after Rogue One about Force Awakens.
Yeah. So Force Awakens, not a big fan. But since then, I've become still a fan of the franchise because of the animated, the Clone Wars and Rebels. Yeah. And I think that's kind of helped keep it elevated and make it interesting still, where it still gives me hope that since they're able to expand upon some characters in that format, that they will do it in the cinematic universe. So with The Last Jedi, I'm not going in as a hater, like, oh, okay, it's going to be another Empire Strikes Back. Because I'll be honest, I've heard nothing about this movie. I've been so busy in my personal life. It's the first time I was telling Case that I'm going into a movie knowing nothing about it. I've only seen the one trailer. I haven't read any articles. I haven't seen any TV spots because I stream everything, so I don't see commercials anymore.
Yeah.
And I've been avoiding any kind of spoilers. So I'm not even going to read reviews. It'll be the first time ever. I'm going to stay away from the movie websites.
Oh, well, let me tell you right now.
So here's TV spots 10 through 16. And spoiler
so I'm pretty sure you guys are probably going to ruin some things for me tonight. But I will say, so I'm actually going into it with I don't know what to expect. I have some theories.
That's pretty amazing.
Which is the first time. So
it feels good, doesn't it?
It's like I'm in 1983. Yeah. All over again. So we'll see. But I do have some.
You're even drinking beers.
Yeah. Right. But I won't get into Rogue One. still mixed feelings on that too. But
yeah.
Actually, a quick question.
Yes.
I like to go with Rogue One. How do you feel about Rogue One in the context of Rebels?
Well, so unfortunately, we're in the world now where in order to appreciate the movies, you have to go watch the cartoon or read the comics.
Right.
Is that a new world though?
Sort of. In this day,
because the prequels actually kind of work better if you knew the expanded universe, because the prequels codified a lot of things that had previously only existed in novels and comics and all that.
True, but I think at the end of the day, no matter what, even in this new universe, you should still expect Star Wars is first and foremost a set of movies. And you should be able to enjoy the movie. So I don't want to excuse some of the lack of character development in Rogue One by Rebels doing some of the character work behind it. But I think my enjoyment did come from knowing what that world was based on Clone Wars and based on Rebels, because I was already kind of familiar with, okay, this is how the Rebel Alliance works, and I was getting to see that extend from Rebels onto the big screen.
Right.
So I was able to appreciate a lot more of that. And that's unfair to people who don't watch Rebels.
Right, because after Rogue One, you see, the divide with the Rebel Alliance, and you're like, okay, but they didn't really delve deep enough into it, and you really couldn't in that amount of time.
Yeah.
But right, after the fact, you go back and watch Rebels, and they kind of flesh that out more, and you're like, oh, that's totally awesome. I like how they're doing that. But like I said, unless you go back and you watch Rebels, if you're just a moviegoer and you don't go beyond that, I mean...
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's kind of a problem.
It's funny because I do sing the praises for Rogue One, and I haven't seen Rebels. I haven't had a chance to watch any of the cartoons.
Yeah.
Except for the Samurai Jack style.
The
Clone
Jen
Wars.
Tartakovsky series, which is great.
It's great. That's actually why I held off from watching the CGI one, because I was like, oh, it looks like a crappy reboot of the much superior
Dave Filoni, who's the showrunner for Clone Wars and is the showrunner for Rebels, to me is everything we loved about Lucas the first time around. And that's why I can never stop. I will always preach the gospel of the Clone Wars. And
I know. I've heard nothing but glowing things, especially from you guys. I know I have to go back and watch it. I also now have 10 seasons to watch.
More like 7
between the two shows.
Okay, now it's more like 10.
So
we'll get to it, man.
I know.
Every season you're wasting. It's getting bigger.
I know.
So one thing I will say that Rogue One, I think, did a better job capturing the essence of the original trilogy more than Force Awakens. As much as Abrams tried to harken back to episode 4, I think that this Rogue One felt like, even when they were in Jeddah and the droids and the people going around the city, it just felt like you were watching
the original trilogy.
It felt more in that.
It was getting the band together. Yeah. It's that kind of story, which Force Awakens, while we're introduced to new characters, there's also a lot of characters we already had seen before, so the vibe is a little different.
Yeah.
And I still really love Rogue One, and I still really like Force Awakens, but I do think an interesting thing here is the expectation of comparisons to Empire. Do you think we'll ever be able to not compare this movie to Empire? Because it feels like every sequel, and not just every sequel, is compared to Empire. That's been the gold standard for sequels since the movie came out. But not just for sequels, but for the middle piece of a trilogy. That's been the gold standard.
Can it do as good as Empire?
Yeah.
Does it take the dark turn?
I think every franchise ultimately gets locked down by its best movie. The same thing happened with Star Trek with Wrath of Khan. After the initial couple of Star Trek movies are not just Wrath of Khan but different, but as soon as you get past that first run, every franchise is sort of trying to go for that kind of this
feel again,
the deepening and darkening of
Star Trek First Contact, arguably the second best Star Trek movie is Wrath of Khan, but with next gen characters and with next gen plots, and then the 2009 Star Trek movie was seen as being very Wrath of Khan-esque, even though it's not really, but there's these vibes to it. And then obviously Into Darkness is prelude to Khan.
Berries for Khan.
Movies, if you have a franchise, and you can see this with Marvel movies with the stronger ones too, where the good ones, everyone wants to try to emulate or do what was right about those in the future ones. So they're informed by the past one. And so you can't not have that shadow there.
Yeah.
And the question is, do they do it effectively differently enough? I mean,
well, the question is, do they make a better movie where we no longer say Empire is the high watermark?
I think it's hard because I think that movie is so mythologized now that it's gonna have to take something crazy. I think to unseat that as the gold standard. Like even, but I think Winter Soldier is a good example. Like that's the empire of Cap's trilogy. You know?
Right. But I think enough time has passed since the original, Empire Strikes Back, where you have like an entire generation of people who didn't like Empire. They didn't grow up with Empire like we did. They grew up post-Empire. They grew up with the prequels, right? And so, like, to make a great movie now, like a great high water, like that could easily supplant everything they know about Star Wars because it's current, and we as people like what's new. So I think as a fandom, it definitely has that. There is a possibility to take over that spot.
Do you think they'll ever make a pod race as good as that first pod race?
No, I don't.
Classic, man.
I don't think they will.
So I will say, I think The Last Jedi has a chance because you brought up. I'm glad you brought up Winter Soldier because the one thing Empire Strikes Back and Winter Soldier has in common, I think a lot of people don't understand why Empire was so special in that trilogy, is because when Star Wars came out, it was like this popcorn fun film, and it was fun, it was great special effects, nothing you've seen before. But when Empire Strikes Back came out, people took it all of a sudden. People took the franchise seriously because it was not because it was darker, because like the characters are deeper, it's a good story, and it's like, wow, this is really good. Captain America, same thing. The first one was campy, popcorn fun, kind of cheesy. But
half a good movie, half like what the hell was that?
Right.
It's funny because I'm actually recording
another.
No, Winter Soldier is my favorite, but I'm actually recording another pass on First Avenger tomorrow night.
Oh, are you?
And I was rewatching it yesterday, and I have so many things to say about it, but they're all glowing.
There's so many good things about that movie.
There really
just
are.
like there is about A New
Moving
Hope.
on.
Yeah, we'll be here for
it's all going to happen tomorrow. Right. Shut up, guys.
but Winter Soldier, what it did was it took the character Captain America, even like Black Widow and all of them. It's like, well, you can actually do something to these characters and expand upon it. Well, that's what Star Wars Empire Strikes Back did with everybody. Han Solo, Leia, everybody. Like, holy shit, like you can take this group of goofy characters and really do something with and have a serious story and make us care. So both Winter Soldier did that for Cap, because since Winter Soldier, like we're all about Chris Evans now. Before, like, but like after you got, especially after Avengers,
wasn't he Johnny Storm?
Right. But, well, the problem was you had Captain America, and then he was even cheesier in the Avengers with those footy pajamas that he was wearing.
It was a terrible outfit.
Right. So Winter Soldier.
The one thing I hate about the first Avengers movie, where it's just like, why is he in that outfit?
Yeah, and that's why it's great they used it in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes,
they put him in the worst.
That was
outfit.
a good choice.
Yeah. So
pretty sure he's a war criminal.
So The Last Jedi, Then in The Last Jedi, I think has a chance because the Force Awakens divided fans even to this day, whether they think it's a rehash of A New Hope, whether they think there's a lot of Mary Sue pandering. This has a chance of getting away from that. You're not going to make everyone happy. You're never going to do that. So to me, going into it fresh, like I don't know what to expect. I think there's a lot of misdirection in the trailer I saw.
Most definitely.
I think because I don't know anything about it, I think there's going to be some surprises, more than one. Yeah. But what they need to do, though, is make it a good story, make us care about these characters. I actually kind of cared about them in the first one, but there's things that maybe not care towards the end. But I was, even Kylo Ren, like, okay, I'm kind of caring about these guys.
Who are the characters you're most invested in at this point?
Going into it? Well, I
think into Last Jedi. Yeah.
I'd say Kylo.
Yeah.
I know he's like kind of the emo kid, but I think he had a good story arc where, he's temperamental. He's not ready to be whether he wants to be a good guy or a bad guy. He's not ready.
Yeah.
And and it's like kids today, right? Like kids don't want to work at their craft to become good, to become a rock legend, to get good. They just want it right away. You get on YouTube, and you're Justin Bieber, like you want that instant fame. You want to be good right away, be known right away, be taken seriously right away. You want the respect right away without earning it. And that's what he wanted. He wanted that respect of Darth Vader without earning it.
Yeah, I mean that's like his lightsaber. Like it's got it has this like sort of imperfect blade that pulses and isn't quite right, but it's got extra spikes.
Right. Yeah, so it looks cool, but it's not. But it's broken.
Look how intimidating it is. Like you light up the saber, and then 2 more spikes pop out.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do say that the fact that he is temperamental, that he is willing to go off unhinged and like beat up, the inside of whatever, Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
makes him dangerous because he's unpredictable in a way, much like Trump, right? Unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do.
Somebody get Kylo Ren's Twitter account.
He's like a Kim Jong-un of the First Order. So, but it makes it interesting. I think Finn, I'm not interested in at the moment, only because of the way his arc with it just they have to fix a lot of things with his storyline
to make me care about him.
To make me care again. Ray, maybe.
Yeah.
Luke, I'm interested in to see what they're going to do with him. And
I think everybody wants to.
And how they're going to work with the Princess Leia angle. So
Carrie Fisher's passing.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and the porgs.
And the porgs. I was going to
We all have
not just porgs. Let's not forget the Voltexes, guys.
Right.
Those crystal
little
foxes look amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, that planet looks cool.
Yeah.
And those are cool. So I'd say they had to be really careful because they had a lot of criticism about possibly having a rehash of New Hope. That whole AT-AT scene on the snowy looking planet, it's more like a salt plains desert.
Salt flats, yeah.
But if you look at the promos, there's salt flat mountains.
Yeah.
That cannot be in the beginning of the movie, and it cannot be the resistance trying to get off the planet.
Yeah.
If they do that in the beginning, I'm going to look at you guys. I'm going to roll my eyes hard.
You're going to visibly hear
and
the roll.
I'll try to enjoy the rest of the movie. I'll be a big boy. But
I'll agree. I agree with that. Like I don't have the same level of criticism that you do about The Force Awakens. I feel like they, we had this conversation, but I feel like they needed to kind of do a soft reboot and just kind of like restore everything back to like, hey, here's our baseline.
Well, that's the pass everyone gives it.
Right.
Well, it's not just about the reboot, but it's also introducing new characters to give them a familiar
feel and place to work in.
But I also think it's a bigger thing here. So my I guess this is more of a theory, and not like a who's Snoke theory, but sort of the way they've been approaching this trilogy. There was talk early on when Lucas first sold Star Wars to Disney that Lucas, after that happened, Lucas sat down with Kathleen Kennedy and he laid out his plans for 7, 8, and 9. Right. And she was like, "No, we're not going to do this. We're going to go in another direction."
That's great, George. Go fuck yourself.
I actually don't believe that's totally true. Now, I don't think they're like adapting that, beat for beat by any means. But I do think just with the course of like making this about the Skywalker family, I do believe there's some intent to have retained some of that. And so,
do you think it's as close to Lucas's original pitch as Star Wars was to the Star Wars, like his original pitch for that?
I think there are elements of it. Like, so my theory is that Snoke is one of the Wills, one of those Watchers. So like early on, it was like the story was being told from these sort of like Watcher-like characters, like Marvel's Watchers, who are they're not involved in events, they're just journaling everything, and because that was originally
he does kind of look like it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like Star Wars Journal of the Wills. Like Snoke looks like a corrupted Uatu, the Watcher from Marvel. So and there's a lot of talk.
And it's the same universe now.
Right? Yeah, it's Disney, man.
God damn it,
baby! It's all Disney.
He's gonna have an Infinity Stone.
Holy
guys.
shit! It is all
connected. Oh my god! Can you imagine if this movie ends with Thanos murdering someone? It's like, and now your Force was just the Soul Gem.
Yeah, we'll find out that the Last Jedi actually has the Soul Gem, not Black Panther.
The greatest twist ever.
But see, so my thought is like, so there's been a lot of talk about like Palpatine towards the end of his life was he found something like darker out in the Outer Rim.
Yeah, that's in one of the books, right?
Yeah, and there was an expedition to go out and find what that is, and the thought is that it is Snoke. Is a lot of people's theory that darkness is Snoke, and my thought is like he's one of those Wills who is tired of seeing the galaxy in this conflict. And like if you're going for like the biblical analogy, it's a Satan-like character who wants to get more involved with sort of the fate of these different lives. So and a lot of Star Wars has been like lots of different religions, kind of blended together. And if the Gray Jedi idea is something I do think is going to happen in here. So you have a little bit more of that Zen, sort of the balancing between good and evil. So
well, yeah, you get teased on that when in the trailer where Luke is like, reach out, and he's telling Rey to reach out. What do you feel? She's like, good, light,
right,
dark, and something else.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot of that, and so scaling back a little bit, like back when Return of the Jedi was supposed to be Revenge of the Jedi, and there was supposed to be a 7, 8, and 9. The thought back then was that Revenge of the Jedi was going to have a much more bittersweet ending, that Vader was going to be defeated, and then the Emperor was going to be the big bad for 7, 8, and 9.
Right.
And my thought is Snoke is sort of the replacement for the Emperor for 7, 8, and 9. And the other thought was that Leia was not going to be the other Skywalker sibling, that there was another Skywalker sibling at the other end of the galaxy who's been trained and who's much more powerful than Luke. And Rey is sort of a replacement for that.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, it's not going to fit perfectly by any means into that vision, but that's sort of my thought.
It certainly would lend itself to that story,
Yeah.
So do we think that, I know a theory early on was, is this ultimately going to be Rey going bad and Kylo coming to the light? Are they going to do a little bait and switch?
Role reversal?
I don't think Rey's going to fall. I do think there is potential for Kylo's redemption, but I actually think what's more important is not so much necessarily a redemption story. Has been one thing that Rian Johnson's talked a lot about in this movie with the publicity for it, is that a lot of the story is about finding your hero, meeting your heroes, and they're not who you expect them to be.
Right.
And I think that's going to apply not just to Luke and him being discouraged, but also to Leia. And maybe, like, have they made certain mistakes where Kylo thinks his actions are justified because maybe he sees some hypocrisy within the Republic and in the Resistance, and he sees the First Order as a legit option for that. So
yeah, I'm not going with that. I'm going with he's a double agent story.
You think so? Yeah, I've heard that as one of those theories out there, and that would be cool.
Like that's a long shot.
Yeah,
but that would be an amazing story. That he's just a double agent that Luke sent in to try and kill Snoke, to get close to Snoke,
and he's just fallen too far.
And then no, I don't think he's
been
fallen
doing all
too
the
far.
heroin. He had to prove himself.
Right.
But I think I think that was the original plan, and I think Rey kind of messes up that plan.
Yeah.
But how would that explain him killing Han? Would he still do that?
There's an interesting theory that has circled the interwebs
that Han knew and was okay with it.
And Han is the one who pushed the lightsaber button, because you watch that scene, and he says, "I don't know if I have the strength to do it. Will you help me?" And Han seems to and then Han reaches out and grabs the lightsaber. And we don't see who turns the lightsaber on.
So do you think they're going to do maybe a flashback moment where they kind of replay that and then
we see
maybe?
The button?
Yeah. I mean, if that is the story they're telling, I mean, you have to explain
it's
that.
Way more interesting. Like the problem I have with Force Awakens and the sort of structure of the universe that they've presented for this era is that it is so repetitive in a way that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, where it's just like, okay, let's get back to having this powerful Empire kind of figure, with this sort of strict military sort of setup, and with an evil sort of dark wizard controlling everything and sort of corrupting people's souls. And I think it does. It was fine that the world got to that place once. It's so weird that they would not only lose, but then snap back sort of in this sort of funky way
to the exact same
setup with just different people in those spots. And I get the idea of cycles and everything, but the cycle is too fast for it to feel natural. And I always thought that it'd make more sense if they were more like terrorist rebels kind of thing, and really dark and horrible, but just reversing the roles. And so evil doesn't really matter. If you're in power or if you're in the underdog, evil is evil and good is good, and that there's potential for it to be corrupted and be flipped around. And that would be way more interesting. Snoke just being the Emperor and being a stand-in for the Emperor, I find so boring, and that's my problem. And that's the reason I can't get that excited yet.
Yeah.
If it turns out that Snoke is creating the First Order because the universe requires there to be something like the Empire, and that he actually doesn't give a shit about it, and that all he's doing is sort of putting pieces in play so that some bigger drama can play out as the way it should be because it was stunted or something like that, that's an interesting choice or something. But the idea of just Snoke being I'm Emperor Part 2, and I'm going to go by conventional titles in a conventional military sense, but I'm an outsider or I'm an insider. All of these just feel kind of
been there, done that.
Yeah, and forced if it is he's an outsider, but now he's the great leader of this military group. There has to be something more interesting. Otherwise, why are we doing this?
I actually like what you said about the role reversal of the rebels and the Empire, where my problem with Force Awakens as well is the big victory in End of Return of Jedi is that now the Republic's restored, right? Empire's gone, Republic's restored. But fast forward 30 years, now with Force Awakens, you don't really get a sense of what is life like now with that New Republic.
It doesn't feel like much has changed.
Right, because you're already back to this big threat of the New Order. Yeah. I think it would have been more interesting, and I'll keep it short because this isn't another pass of this movie, where it probably would have been more interesting to say that maybe over the 30 years there were some planets or that liked the way the Empire is run and didn't want to conform to this New Republic. So now what you're facing are like the rebels, more like evil rebels, where like so you get a sense of what it's like New Republic, and they're still dealing with factions of systems that don't want to conform to the New Republic, and that's the new conflict wherein there's the leader of that group, of that evil rebellion in a way.
It's like the Republicans and Democrats fighting over.
Yeah, sort of.
So, like, and actually to go off of that, the end of Return of the Jedi isn't the Republic's restored. It's like a big blow was struck to the Empire. So we never even see the Republic be restored. Like it's always just sort of implied. And what's funny is that Force Awakens takes the same assumption that the original expanded universe took, which is that the rebels win. Like there's no reason the rebels win after Return of the Jedi. They just lost the Emperor. Right. But they didn't lose the infrastructure. They didn't lose anything aside from it.
Thrawn was still out there.
Play Battlefront 2, guys.
Exactly. It's no greater a loss aside from the Emperor than the first Death Star. And so we know that the Empire can strike back from that. Like, how much more interesting would it be if The Force Awakens took a different stance? And I am not trying to make this another pass, but we're like,
here we
are.
The
Thrawn situation is an example. Like, people in the earlier books used to talk about how Thrawn showed up, and all of a sudden we were back to being rebels. Like, if they wanted that same sort of dynamic, what if Return of the Jedi really wasn't a victory? What if it was a big battle that they won, but then they still lost, and then it's still the rebels on the run?
Yeah, so
and then at least it's not like, oh well, we restored everything, but now there's like another force that is just our separatists that have taken over.
I think they address this a little bit in the books.
I know, and there's the explanation.
It is addressed in a lot of the books, like the politics, because I know one of the books addresses even like Leia's sort of fall from grace once it's revealed to sort of the greater galaxy that she's Vader's daughter. And that does a lot to hurt her power in the Senate and helping to rebuild the Republic. And it's a major block in that. That's the extent of that I know. I know there's more in that also leads to, like, there's an assassination attempt on her, apparently, that's somehow connected to the origins of the First Order. That sort of, like, there are planets who do like the way that the Empire was run and want the First Order around as well. So there was actually like a cool moment in one of the comics where there's a planet that was like sort of a gladiatorial planet where the order that the Empire brought
kind of
like,
fucked that up.
Well, it helped the lower classes.
Oh.
So all these people who were just being fed into the gladiator pits now finally had a chance to live like better lives.
And so we're super excited about that.
Exactly. Yeah. So like there are
lawful
other aspects.
Evil is still lawful, which is not that bad.
Right. I think, though, the danger, and because this type of world building risked some of the problems we had in the prequels, because like this is where we start getting into the territory of trade negotiations and votes of no confidence, which hurt the prequels so badly. Right. So while I do like wanting that world, I do want to have that world building. I'm afraid of that being part of the movies and like
bogging them down.
But then at the same time, then we lose out the complexity of what the movies can be as part of a bigger universe. And then
the problem with the prequels wasn't that there was a vote of no confidence, that there was a Senate.
It's one of many
issues. The fact that it was a poorly thought out version of it. Like, it was like a fifth grader's concept of civics. If this movie wanted to do something interesting with politics, that'd be cool as long as it was smart. It's not world building unto itself is not a problem as long as it's not like, let's pause everything and then do a world building session, but it's a shitty job.
Right.
That's the problem the prequels had. This movie, they don't do enough, or at least Force Awakens doesn't do enough world building, and it doesn't make sense the ones that they do. I'm it doesn't explain, what are you shooting at? How is this thing working? Why is the politics of all this happening? None of that makes sense, and it's a movie that's requiring you to know about the expanded universe and the books that they're putting out, which is the thing that we just said shouldn't be a Star Wars product.
Do you think it does any more world building, really, any less world building than the original trilogy did?
No.
I think so. I think it does less world building in the sense that, like, at the very least, the structure of the first movie, particularly the first Star Wars, which doesn't have it fully thought out, but at least like has a basic concept, like is using terms that we understand and sort of slowly explaining it through the viewpoints of a select few characters. That because it's not very complicated, that when you say that there's an empire and that there was a Senate, you're immediately hearkening back to things that we know about and concepts that we can go with. Like, it sounds like ancient Rome. This sounds like an emperor took over. These are all things that make sense.
Yeah.
It's like if you said that there is a president, we don't need to have it what a president is to be explained to the audience. Like, we understand that is something that's supposed to be structurally similar to how an American audience perceives it, which isn't even how it is in the rest of the world. But you would just assume that if someone said president, it's an American president, like that kind of concept. Or if you say emperor, it's what a Western-style emperor would be. Like, it's not like a Chinese emperor where there's like a mandate of heaven or something like that.
Right.
There's an
Although
assumption.
that would be badass.
It would be interesting, but it's not what the world that they put. And they immediately, and it's verified later by all the other movies that it is, and other material, that it is very much
Eastern,
like
or
an allegory of like the fall of Rome, or rather the fall of the Republic into an imperial state.
Right.
So they take shorthands to explain it, but they world build it through shorthands.
Yeah, but I don't think I agree with that, but I don't think that it's that dramatically different than what we got, between the two. Yeah. I think they're basically kind of both taking those shortcuts and assuming that you're going to put the pieces together pretty quickly, and it's not perfect. Neither one of them is perfect. I mean, I think one of the dangers that we run as Uber fans is like we hold these movies on such high pedestals that it's so easy to nitpick them apart and be like, well, that didn't make any goddamn sense. That didn't make any goddamn sense. Like, right now, the most bitter people on the planet are Star Wars fans. Like, if you go on any message board, any Facebook group, they bitch about everything right now.
DC fans might be in a
they're so beaten down now. Like, they're just like, well, we had Cyborg.
They have nothing but hope at this point.
Like, it can only get better. Like Star Wars fans are so...
Aquaman, A New Hope.
It really is, too.
Yeah.
So I guess question. So is there anything that bothered you from Force Awakens that you're hoping they will correct in The Last Jedi?
I think they're gonna get. I think we're gonna get a lot of fixes in this next movie. A lot of questions answered. A lot of stuff that didn't make sense or like was kind of like what? Like, I think a lot of that's gonna get answered here. Like the whole like, why did Luke bail? And is living on the other side of the galaxy. What's the deal with Kylo Ren? Why doesn't he know what the fuck he's doing? Who hasn't trained him? What is like? Snoke is a huge question mark. Yeah, he's a huge question mark. I think like that's gonna kind of like fill in a lot of the gaps where you kind of go, oh, that's kind of why this universe looks the way it does, and why things are kind of in the situation
I'm expecting some of that. My big complaint about Force Awakens is there's really only one. There's no way for them to fix it. Because my big complaint with that was that Starkiller Base was destroyed instead of just disabled.
Yeah. We all agreed about that.
That's dumb.
They'll never do that. I just hope they don't have another galaxy world destroying or solar system destroying super weapon in this movie or the next one.
Yeah, and I think I also wonder. So they had to sort of fix also the big complaint where Rey was caught on real quick how to use those Jedi powers.
I think that's going to play into the story though, but I always had that
I think we already have that like being hinted at.
Yeah.
And do you think in the trailer that they're going to answer that?
So here's another theory that's been floated out based on Battlefront 2's campaign. So apparently Battlefront 2's campaign has sort of an abrupt ending, and there's going to be a free DLC that releases once The Last Jedi comes out. Because I don't know if you've seen the trailers for Battlefront 2, but in that it takes place right after the Battle of Endor, and there's this big one of the looks like one of the royal guards. There's a droid that has
Palpatine's
like a message
face
from Palpatine, and he's like, all right, so let's burn everything down. But there's also something called Project Resurrection, and they don't reveal what that is in that first part of the campaign, and it's implied that we might find out more about that in that DLC. So. So there is a theory, and this is it is a little bit of a crazy fan theory at this point, but that Project Resurrection might be something that Snoke is trying to do to stay alive, So one of the things that's come up in the trailers is that he talks about the raw power that Kylo Ren has, and then it's also implied that Rey has as well, and maybe he's more interested in Rey now
because she has more power.
Well, and also after Kylo Ren's failings.
Yeah.
So the thought is maybe he needs a new body to transfer our consciousness into, and maybe Kylo Ren was on board for that, and that's why he's struggling with some of the decisions he's got to make. So that's one of the theories out there. Who knows? You know what that is, but
what if they go all in on the old school, like Palpatine keeps resurrecting himself and Snoke is just Palpatine,
and Rey is actually just a clone of Luke's hand.
On this hand, there was only the X chromosomes.
So I'm wondering if at any point in The Last Jedi there's going to be any sort of scenes with, because one complaint too is like after the death of Han. And they get back to, I guess, Yavin. Was it Yavin? I can't remember now.
It's another planet. I forgot the name of it.
It's a planet that looks like Yavin, just like there's a planet that is basically Tatooine, but it's not Tatooine. And there's a Death Star that's not a Death Star. Yeah.
Right. And then Chewie and Leia just sort of brush past each other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm almost wondering, will there be any scene, especially with, now we know that Carrie Fisher is dead.
Yeah.
Will there be any scene in this movie between Chewie and Leia
I hope
sort of
so.
restaps that there was a history between these two, right?
For sure. I hope so. And J.J. Abrams said that was his biggest regret in that movie was that he didn't have anything between those two.
Yeah, but Leia has a history of snubbing Chewie, so it's not that surprising.
Yeah, but she did hug Chewie when we
She didn't give him a medal. She didn't give him a medal.
That's what I'm talking about.
According to Tag and Bink, one of them has the medal.
Did not give him the medal, and it's not okay.
Anyway.
Wookiee lives matter.
So I don't want to come off as just bashing Force Awakens for this assessment.
It does set our expectations for The Last Jedi. That's why I don't want to totally ignore those concerns.
Force Awakens had a lot of strong suits to it. I thought the artistic style they're going for this series, and I think that what I've seen in trailers looks consistent with Force Awakens, which is that it is a very refined version of the look that we had gotten to by Return of the Jedi, and not what the prequels looked like.
Well, there's also a little bit of I forget the name of the cinematographer that Rian Johnson works with, but he's one of the guys who's a little bit more in favor of pioneering a look for digital that's very different from film. Because that's one of those big debates, in the film world about the film look is romanticized, but we're also not going to, at a certain point we're going to they're not making film anymore, so they're fully embracing digital, and it's more convenient. There's a lot more you can do with it as well.
Yeah, where the benefits outweigh the cost so much that there's no point not to.
Right.
Yeah, and his cinematographer also is a guy who says people have not been shooting correctly on digital in terms of they need to shoot flat colors in the shoot, but then do a better job with color grading afterwards. And what I've seen from the sort of the aesthetic for Last Jedi from the trailers looks amazing.
Yeah.
And because he takes full advantage of the colors. I mean, just the reds stand out in a way that you've never really seen in a lot of movies. And the way even the greens and blues of Octo where Luke is.
Stand out might not even be the right word. It's more infused, because all this color correction, the way a lot of these digital cameras work is that to get the highest amount of detail in there, you're losing a lot of actually the color in favor of the fine detail, and so it really requires a lot of color correction to go back on. So it's almost kind of like a new Technicolor wave, in that sense,
right.
Where you're basically going through and painting it all, but we have computers that can do that, so it's not hand drawing on every on every cell,
frame.
Yeah. It's hard not to be excited. That's the thing. I have seen the trailers. I am excited about this movie, and I get on this and I sound like I'm kind of just shitting on the franchise right now.
Well, you just don't like J.J. Abrams. I think as long as
this is true.
As long as we leave that condition, I think we'll understand how to frame it.
But Force Awakens, like I said, had a great look to it. I think Abrams does a great job of making things look like a thing in a really beautiful way. I think his shots are always really nice. And he has a really good job of introducing characters. The new characters in Force Awakens, I loved. It was surprising that you didn't Shawn, that you didn't like Finn that much, because I loved Finn. I loved his introduction. I thought he was a unique character, and I really liked that. I liked Rey. I liked Kylo. All of them were really interesting and dynamic individuals that I'm excited to see more of, and I really like that element of the of this like trilogy there. Like that I'm excited to see. Like they in a way that like the prequels, none of the characters were interesting, and all of them just felt like we were feeding into the original like.
Just archetypes.
Getting up to the main trilogy.
Yeah.
It's like, here's all the feeder stuff.
Obi-Wan was awesome.
So,
Obi-Wan was awesome.
No, even Obi-Wan. Like, if you look at episode 1 and 2, you're like, why are we...
hurting a little bit.
No.
Walk carefully. Choose your next words very carefully.
Obi-Wan, the character who shows up over the course of 6 movies, is awesome. Obi-Wan does not become that character until we get to the third one. Like, the first 2, he's not that well-rounded of a character. He has to go talk to a greasy dude in a diner just to figure out where a dart came from, man.
Right. I know.
So I will say...
That's where I always go when I want to find out where a dart comes from.
But even after The Force Awakens, I'm not sure if you guys remember. I remember like riding home in the car, and I did like all the characters, including Finn. I like one thing. I'm like, yeah, actually, they made you care about these new characters.
But you're concerned about where they're going to take them.
Well, and I was like, my initial reaction, like straight after seeing it, was like, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with these characters next. And then it was after a while, I saw it a second time, and then I saw it on Netflix. And then I remember Finn annoyed the hell out of me when I watched it on Netflix because most of his characters like, hey, we're going, right, God, on. Like he's like heavy breathing. Like his method of acting was like running in. He's like breathing heavy, or he's always yelling out like Ray. Almost like with what's his name there in Transformers, Sam, like Optimus, Bumblebee. It's like Ray!
So that you can tell who they were,
right? But so and it's not like, and I'm sure.
Hi, Mark.
Right. So to me, it's the way he played the character. At first, I liked him. I was all on board. And then when I saw it again, I'm like, I hope he tones down the heavy breathing and the yelling out someone's name, like calling out somebody. If he does on Last Jedi, I'm back on board with the Finn train.
I'm pretty sure his first shot is going to be that. I think because we've already seen his first shot in one of the trailers.
Okay. So we'll see. And that's honestly the only thing that I noticed the second time is the heavy breathing acting, and just the calling out. But
I will say this: Last Jedi, any potential negatives of this movie will be completely washed away if. I don't need to see them kiss, but if Poe and Finn just smell each other a little bit.
Smell each other? Wow. That's not where I thought that was going.
Yeah, I know.
So do you think we're in for any surprise old school cameos that are off the radar at the moment from the original trilogy?
No.
I don't think so. They've pretty much already said that Billy D. Williams is not showing up.
Because he's 1,000,007.
Still could have.
Wait, is he 1,007 years older than fucking Carrie Fisher?
Right.
No, but Carrie Fisher's dead.
Well, yeah, you should have said Mark Hamill on that one.
Also, still fucking in the movie. Like,
but at least
just because they kept it up, like they could have easily kept that under wraps. Like they kept that Vader was goddamn Luke's father under wraps. Like
They
you
can
have him show up.
They can, but I don't.
I don't know if they can keep that high profile.
No, they
Is he
could. They
high
totally
profile?
could.
Like in this context, he's high profile.
They
but
totally could. I don't see any point in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Force Ghost Sam Jackson.
I'd be down with that.
I think there's a potential.
Luke, motherfucker.
Well, there were.
You need to get your shit back together.
Well, there were rumors of a Force Ghost Anakin, like Hayden Christensen mixing with Vader type of
Back
thing.
and forth,
Yeah, that was potentially going to show up in Force Awakens.
I mean,
That's a I think
that's
that is
a
legit
possibility. I think we might see Anakin. I think we definitely see Yoda.
Especially since we saw Hayden Christensen at Celebration last year.
Yeah.
Frank Oz and Hayden Christensen were at the movie premiere.
That's true. Well,
Frank
I'm not positive Hayden was. I think that might have been a lie.
Frank Oz was.
So-
Frank Oz definitely was, but there's
hold
a
on.
possibility that
J
Hayden
Mike
showed.
just said that Frank Oz and
Thank you.
Hayden Christensen were at the
Premiere.
premiere.
And Hayden Christensen wasn't, I think.
Thanks,
actually.
Sean.
Yeah, I think Hayden wasn't. I think that was a false rumor that somebody had started to spread on
Frank
Twitter.
Oz was.
Frank Oz definitely was.
It's not weird if he is, even if he wasn't in the
No,
movie.
no. You're right, but he has a tradition of not involving himself with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now what about
Like
Qui-Gon?
the fact that he came to Celebration this
Like that-
year was a
like-
huge deal.
Like, I
But
wouldn't
at that
expect
point,
Jake
that's the
Lloyd to come
starting
back
point of
either
him
unless
being-
they hired him for something.
I think he's in jail now. Isn't
I
he? Or
think so,
rehab?
yeah.
But
Oh.
here's the thing:
Jake Lloyd,
Hayden
yeah.
Christensen being at Celebration means that we've opened the floodgates for him at least showing up for a premiere of a movie. Like it's not that crazy for him to go.
It isn't, but there is room to kind of like read into it of like,
Yeah.
he's never come to anything else. Like he just doesn't seem to give a shit about Star Wars. outside of.
Well, he got shat on by the Star Wars.
Well, he
fans.
most definitely
He did.
did. He most definitely did.
And for some of it, let's
Some
be
of it
honest,
is his
Jumper was good.
it was all right. Yeah, I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it. It wasn't great, but it was fine.
He wasn't the worst thing in that
So you
movie.
think there will be another Qui-Gon appearance?
No.
No, sadly, I kind of would like that, but I think it who would I think if his Force Ghost showed up, everybody would be like,
Who the fuck is
who
that?
are you?
Right.
CG Christopher Lee.
No.
Red Force Ghost. Evil Red Force Ghost.
No.
Yeah, I expect maybe Yoda will be
We
in
get
part of
Yoda.
another vision, like one
Definitely
of those crazy
get Yoda.
visions.
Yeah.
Like where we had Ewan McGregor's voice and Frank Oz's voice.
Yeah.
Maybe like that, but I don't
I
think
think
we're
we
gonna,
get more than that out of Yoda.
You think we're
this
going to
time.
get an actual Yoda Force Ghost?
Yeah.
So there's another thing that Ryan Johnson said. There's apparently a new hue of lightsaber, a new color lightsaber that's going to show up in this movie, which I think is actually a bigger piece of information.
Than we think
I
it
don't-
is?
Yeah, I mean, because there are not a lot of Jedi running around right now, so another lightsaber
We
showing
get a
up at
white
all.
lightsaber. We get the white lightsaber.
I think white is a possibility, but wouldn't it be crazy if Leia suddenly
White though
draws
is
a
not
lightsaber?
enough of a new color for it to really.
Yeah, because even
stand
Luke's
out.
original lightsaber was
Yeah,
kind of
like
white.
in the original
Oh,
Star
the-
Wars,
yeah.
it looked
The original
very
coloration.
white. And
It did
they,
look very white,
In
yeah.
the re-releases,
But it was
they
still
made
blue.
it more blue.
At the
but
end
like-
of the day, it was
no,
still blue.
Yeah.
but it was white in the first movie. If you're
Right.
just looking at the cinema,
Yeah.
like the theatrical cut, and later editions made it more blue. But
Right.
like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is it doesn't stand out if you put a white lightsaber. It just looks like every other lightsaber.
Well,
So
like,
we
what
got
color?
blue, green,
Black.
purple, and red so far is what we
Why
have.
not black? Like the black
We already
saber.
have that
Dark
though,
saber.
but we already have that.
No,
That's
but
not
then
new.
new in movies.
New
Oh, in
movies.
Right,
movies?
yeah.
Because
Oh,
we're not
okay.
Because we've
counting
had
any-
almost every color in the expanded
But
universe.
I wouldn't be surprised if,
of
like,
the
from
past.
Rebels, the black saber would inspire them to come up with the black,
Yeah.
try black in the movies for the
The
lightsaber.
dark saber shows up. That'd
Right.
be interesting.
Oh, if it was the dark saber, the
would
dark
be cool.
Mandalorian saber would be badass.
Yeah.
I would love to see Lobaka's giant bronze saber that was more of like a club shape.
Yeah.
Do you think any character that we are aware of might wield it, or is it just a random saber since they're on Octo, where Luke is hanging out?
Could be.
There's-
I would assume that it would be Snoke's. If we're gonna get a new colored saber,
Yeah.
I would assume it would be Snoke's.
Yeah.
Next year. So, do we have any surprise deaths or demises? So,
Depends.
Is anyone a surprise at this point? Like, if they kill any of the original cast, it's like, oh, we're just clearing house, especially Leia.
right.
Yeah, I
But
think
like
it's
even
guaranteed
Luke
Leia
isn't
dies.
really a surprise if they kill him because we've sort of
He's
set up.
100.
I would say Luke is a little bit of a surprise because I still expect, because it's the Skywalker story, I still kind of.
He's got to get to the third movie.
I do think he's got to get
I mean,
to the third.
but
to
I
the next
feel
one.
like it, but like
if he didn't, I
I think
wouldn't
he
be
dies
surprised.
in episode 9. To be honest, I just think there is more room for him to do.
But
stuff.
are you?
I
my
love-
point is, are you legitimately surprised?
No,
No, I'm not surprised, and in fact, I think like it's almost required for him to take like that Obi-Wan
Well,
kind of role.
Well, I'm almost thinking like as far as the newer characters, because I'd be surprised. I'd be a little surprised if it was
Finn
Poe,
or Poe.
but I'd actually be
Yeah.
surprised. It might even go to actually honestly if Rey, if she was done in this one, because she's not coming back after 9. She said.
Right.
But
That's what
would-
she
Right.
says.
But
Yeah.
right, that's what she
yeah,
said.
that's what
Right, we'll
she
see her
said.
career goes
Nothing's
after
really
9.
necessarily
Yeah.
happened.
But
Yeah.
that would be
Porn's always an
a
option.
surprise if not even if she died, but some kind of demise at the end of
Yeah.
this movie where
that's true. You could kill off Finn.
Yeah.
I think if they kill Finn, it's dumb because it's because here's my thought.
They've built so much around it.
Right.
One, Finn was such an interesting new character and the viewpoint of the first movie, and then he had an almost death at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
So
That's
like if
true.
they
You're right.
kill him
It's
in
too
this one,
repetitive.
Yeah.
it's sort of like what? Okay, so we're gonna stab the black guy. He's gonna barely recover. Then we're gonna kill him for real.
Welcome to
Like-
Star Wars.
Well, there is my theory.
It was a long time ago, boys.
There is my theory that Kylo might bite it this movie.
Yeah, you do have that
Could,
theory.
yeah.
Yeah, especially because of that one shot. That's
Stop it!
I know. Sorry. One of those trailer shots has
Too much
something that implies
information.
it.
Kylo would be vaguely interesting if he died.
Kylo
Kylo
would
would be a
interesting.
stakes raiser if he died. But
Ray
it's
would be a
all-
shock. Ray's the
Ray,
only
Ray
one that
would
would be a shock.
Ray would be a shock, and Finn would be like, "Oh, that's stupid." Like
Yeah.
that's
Ray
my
and
thoughts.
Kylo are the only two that I would be surprised
And they're
by.
getting honestly, they're getting so much good press from having Rey as a hero. I just can't imagine that
They're
actually
just going to give her more money, and she's going to go, I
Yeah.
love Star Wars.
Right, yeah.
That's really all that. Like, that's all that feels like to me, is like her, like, I don't want to do another Star Wars movie. Is like, oh, crap, I realize this is actually working. I want more money.
I don't know about that. I think you're a little too cynical on that. I just think
not too cynical.
I think someone looking at what their career is wants to do different things as well. Like
you knew that going into it.
Harrison Ford also wanted come on. You know people would want to do something more than just Star Wars, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's nothing saying you can't.
Yeah. I'm sure after Star Wars, after this trilogy is done, I'm sure they'll still hire her for other stuff.
Yeah, you got to be able to renegotiate.
She doesn't need
to
maneuver. Yeah, she has enough power to command plenty of money.
By saying I'm not going to come back. That's how you do that.
Yeah,
that's how you do. That's how you command
the game.
That. Yeah,
playing the game.
Yeah, it doesn't feel. I mean, I don't have any doubt that she wants to do other things. I'm sure she does. Of course she does. She doesn't want to be typecast as Rey for the rest of her life, like Mark Hamill was.
Right.
But at the same time, she wants to be compensated. She knows she's the star.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have a rule for actors the way they do for low-level employees of the ESPN zone, which is that if you get fired from a Disney company, you're never allowed to work again for a Disney company.
Jeez.
That was a big issue for some people I knew who were trying to be working in theater and stuff, and Disney produces a lot of shows.
That's
and they were
brutal policy.
So people were like, if I ever get fired, I can't be on Lion King or something like that. Not just I won't ever make it, but I actually can never get hired on it. And that would be just down to being I can't show up 6 minutes late 3 times in a row.
Wow.
So I wonder if actors are wary of that as well.
I'm sure they put something in there. I'm sure if they have a decent agent, I'm sure they put something in there.
Yeah, I mean, what qualifies being fired versus just not rehired is different. But I'm curious.
So I'm curious if nobody dies in this movie, and then one of the male actors, say Kylo or Finn, gets slapped with a sexual assault case. Will they write him off?
Someone's gonna die real quick.
Will they write him off?
And we'll only see the back of their head.
Yeah, going to be digitally remastered into the next movie and die real quick.
They've established that it does not matter in this franchise if you're actually there. You could be dead, and they will somehow get you in there kicking and screaming.
Yeah,
and in fact, they'll make you look better.
Is there any chance at all that Carrie Fisher makes it through this movie?
I think there's a chance, but a very slim chance. I think there's always the possibility because ultimately I think they will kill her off in this movie. I don't think it's going to be the moment that they showed in the trailer.
No, I don't think so.
But I do think there were plans for her to be in 9.
Big plans for her to be in 9.
Like a major role in that, which I think also implies that Luke was going to maybe potentially bite it originally, maybe in this movie. Maybe they've done a switch around for it. But I think the other possibility is is there a way to write her off without killing her? Maybe.
She could just go away, decide that she needs to just leave for whatever reason. That's
she's banished
the greater
from
good
the rebellion
or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for whatever other reason. We don't know. I think there is the possibility and I think that's a legit
She goes into hiding for 30 years.
Right. Yeah. And there's a map.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we all know the series has all these third acts where we're split up between 3 or 4 locations, and maybe we just don't show that 4th location for this whole duration. Maybe Leia's fleet is out there in battle, and they keep talking about it, and they show it on a map.
Right.
And Leia's at the in the flagship, but we never actually see we never cut to the fight. Instead, they just show shots on a grid of the ships moving in position. And the fleet's getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Or all you need to do is if you do want to show her up, have her show up in episode 9, is you show that flagship that she's on, and have Stevie Nicks step in for a little bit, just for a couple shots, and then destroy her right there.
Actually, no, that
is the thing though. The open the movie with her dead was a thing I assumed when I heard she passed away, that they were just going to open 9 and kill her.
Yeah.
Since they had said her role's already shot for 8. It's okay, so we're stuck with 8.
Yeah.
Roughly.
You can open it,
and then you open it with her death. And I think we talked about that when she died.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, we did. It's certainly a possibility. I get the sense from the trailers that they're letting everybody know that hey,
this is it.
This is kind of gonna we're gonna finish it here. Yeah, and they did some reshoots and some re-editing to make it work.
I think most likely that's probably the most graceful.
Do you think that's why they forced in the awkward young Leia in Rogue One, just they had to toe the water, it's Can we get
How
away
much
with this?
CGI can we do here?
Can we get away with this? Can we?
If we can make her look young, we can make her look dead.
Yeah. Actually, I will say, if they ever decide to make a young Princess Leia movie or series, the girl who plays 11 in Stranger Things, I realize looks a lot like Carrie Fisher.
Oh yeah.
Like she definitely has a Carrie Fisher face. Like
Yeah.
she could definitely play a young Princess Leia.
I could
if they
see
do
that.
Let's hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, she's going to
They
be too
do.
busy with Stranger Things at this point because they got like what 3 or 4 more seasons they got
really?
planned with
Allegedly,
that?
but they're not coming out the next one until 2019.
Like, they got to shoot so much
She's
of
also
it before they
so young.
Well, and
So you can play a young Carrie Fisher for a long time. Right
yeah,
now.
that's true.
well, only so long. I mean, Carrie Fisher was 18 when in A New Hope, so
Okay, so we've got 5 years. 'Cause
Yeah, but
she's
the-
13.
and she's got Stranger Things for a couple years. They got to shoot all of that before
She
they
can
get
shoot
too
around
old.
it though. They could.
Yeah.
They're not going to do a young
They're not
Princess
going
Leia.
to. Yeah.
They're not going to do that. Not yet. Give it another 10 years.
Obi-Wan movie, they're gonna have Ewan McGregor in that one? Do we not know?
We don't know.
They haven't confirmed that
We
one
don't
way or
know.
the other.
Okay.
That's still a big rumor at this point, but
We're
it's
hoping that it's
supposedly-
not true.
We'll see.
I would
who-
rather him be in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If it's
I would.
true, I
yeah.
want him in it.
If you're gonna do it with Ewan McGregor, I'd rather you not do it.
Do
I
the
don't-
movie
I-
in general.
I
Right, yeah.
What story are you gonna tell that you don't know?
Right.
That's true.
About that
I got
character.
nothing.
Yeah,
I can't even speculate. I'm like,
There's
Nothing.
nothing to tell that
Nothing.
you don't know about that character.
we've
already.
told
Yeah.
too many stories with that character, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little
No, I
adventure
don't know
with
about
his
too many.
forearm
Well,
buddy there
or rather,
from the diner.
the story.
Dexter Jester's
Yeah.
team up with Obi-Wan. They're time and knob.
It'd just be like a buddy road trip, you know, like diner to diner.
Driving across.
Diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Identifying darts along the way.
This place, they have amazing cheese fries. They put the extra bacon on it. They
And Dexter starts out the movie really thin.
Dexter Jetster gets his own Food Network show.
I would pay to see that.
I would
movie.
watch that. That I would
see
watch.
that
That I
series.
would watch. I would watch it if it was a
I think
TV series.
Dexter's Diner just got a new TV series. We got Cheers with Dexter Jetster. Yeah.
I mean, that was that original show pitch that they were going to do, where it'd be like after episode 2, they wanted to have like a show where that was like the hub for people on Coruscant, and then do like an anthology series
Right.
around that.
Going through there, yeah, that would be awful. Like
I-
Mel's Diner.
I wouldn't write that off. It's a fun.
They apparently wrote a lot of scripts for it.
Yeesh.
Okay.
Like, this is not speculation. This
Yeah.
was like really
We
underway.
really got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Apparently
It might have
wrote-
been good.
Apparently spent enough money developing stuff for it that it caused Lucas to be like, selling to Disney's not that bad an idea.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
Well,
Good
then
for
there's
him.
also that Seth Green show.
Yeah,
The other, like the spin-off from the robot
chicken stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, all those comedy episodes, which they have like 20 episodes already produced.
yeah.
But
and
they
then
can't
they'll
release them.
never release them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, Kuna Matata. So we're all excited, basically, is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
We have
Yes.
we have high expectations,
Which
but
I
we're
need to
not
scale
sure.
back
But we're
before I
not
go
sure
to the
what
movie.
we're gonna get.
I feel like I need to watch Attack of the Clones before I go into the movie just to scale my expectations down.
Just to be like, oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, this is a bad Star Wars movie. I just need to remind myself.
you need to sit down with Corey and just watch Phantom Menace
Yeah.
to prep for Scruffy Nerf Herders.
Yeah, but there's so much fun from making fun of Phantom Menace. Like it has become watchable now for me.
It's more the
Attack
hate
of
movie. Whereas Attack of the Clones is actually, the bones are not that bad, but it just
Right.
is so fucking long.
I can't bring myself to watch it again.
Yeah,
It's been
it's
years.
so-
It's been at least a decade.
I fall asleep during that movie.
You can
It's
chop
awful.
Attack of the Clones down to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
That
And it
droid
would be-
factory scene. Is
Oh, that's
so
that.
bad.
Oh, so
right
bad.
gone. And in fact, you can cut every shot of R2D2 and C3PO.
Yeah.
I know from experience from the fight afterwards.
Yeah.
So you never even wonder what happened to them because you just never have them there.
Yeah, because they have no business being there.
Yeah.
There's that's the kind of stuff that I hope this trilogy avoids.
Which
I think it will.
They did in The Force Awakens. Like, they
Yeah.
didn't force the droids in front and center. So, I mean, there is that. I mean, but they were a huge part of that original trilogy, though.
Absolutely, absolutely, they were. But I mean, I just hope that we skip where you're watching, you're like, oh, well, this is the thing that we're doing to sell toys.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that that's a huge part of Star Wars. I know that. Like, you know, we were watching.
Well, I think you're going to be disappointed by the big
the porgs.
the barrel scene with porgs going down a river.
Oh, jeez.
And then two arms pop out with swords.
It's actually two porgs holding lightsabers. Those are the new lightsabers.
Those are the pork sabers.
That's another trilogy I try to put out of my mind. Oh, it's so bad.
I haven't gone back and watched Battle of the Five Armies since I watched it the one time.
Yeah. Any of those movies, they're just so bad. The first one was probably the best of the three, but that's not even good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, what was that, a week ago?
Yeah, we
We're
recorded
taking another pass on that one. Yeah, that's coming soon.
Yeah, so you can expect. So already from this episode, you can expect another pass to have 2 episodes coming soon.
Yeah, coming in the new year. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got
after Highlander 2.
Captain America: The First Avenger. We got the Hobbit trilogy.
Yep.
We got all sorts of stuff coming. Obviously, right now we're most excited about Star Wars. But be sure to go to our website, certainpov.com. All our social media is there. All of our other podcasts, including Cases Another Pass, including Scruffy Nerf Herders, which I hear we might have another appearance from Fendir maybe soon.
Oh,
A brief,
yeah, maybe.
Well, hopefully.
Everyone's been good this year.
He's been a good pilot.
Yeah.
Everybody's been good this year.
Well, while you're trying to figure out if you're on the naughty list or not, check out certainpov.com. Until next time, stay scruffy, my Nerf Herders.